Hawkeye. So, this is my video talking about working the election. Long story short, it sucked. So starting with the training, I went to the Board of Elections on Leeds Avenue in West Ashley, or might have been North Charleston. I don't know. I'm from Mount Pleasant. I don't know that area. The class was like 3 to 4 hours, and myself and 2 high school volunteers were like the only people in the room under the age of 50, which is a big problem right there, which is one of the reasons I think it's really good that Professor Nika got us to do this, because people our age, young people, are not involved enough in the process. But when I get to the actual work we did, you'll understand why, because it was pretty miserable. So we did the 3-4 hour training thing. It was basically just a long slideshow where they went over a whole bunch of stuff, like what to wear, what you can and can't do, what kind of different tasks you'd be doing on election day. But in the end, I understand why they have to do like a formal training session like that, but in reality, they could make the training session an hour, and it would, in my opinion, it would serve just as well. Maybe that's because I'm younger and I am in school, so I pick up on stuff a lot easier than a lot of the older people who are at the training session. But I mean, by the time the election came around and I was actually going to work, I've forgotten most of the stuff from the training session, because it was, I think, almost a month prior to election day, at least several weeks. And I just learned what to do on election day from the other poll workers I was with. They basically showed me what I needed to do. So in reality, the training session was a little redundant, because I just learned what I needed to do once I got there on election day. But as for election day, I assume this is the same for everyone else. I had to be there at 6 a.m. and luckily the voting location I was working at is right down the street from my house. The woman who was in charge of putting us in different election locations said she would take into account which ones were close to your house, and she did. It was right down the street from my house, so that was nice. I only had to wake up at like 5:30 to get there by 6. So got there at 6 o'clock, met all of my fellow poll workers. Once again, they were all I was definitely the youngest one. Everybody else was definitely over 50. But they were all really nice. And they were thrilled to have me there. They were all really surprised, like they were like, "You're so young, like it's great to have you here." And they were all really sweet. I met all of them, introduced myself, and we just started set up the computers, set up the line was already. We were in a cafeteria. We were at a school for mine, so they used the actual cafeteria tables to kind of create a snake from the entrance for the line, and that was already done when I got there. And I did a lot of the stuff involving computers for obvious reasons. The older folks were not as adept with the computers. So I helped set up all the computer stuff, set up power strips, like tape down power cords and stuff so people wouldn't be tripping over them. And then we actually had a couple people come and like knock on the door at like 6 o'clock and try to vote. And we're like, you have to wait until 7. We're not opening the doors till 7. But we had a pretty big line at 7 when we started letting people in, and from 7 o'clock when we opened the doors until I think around 2 o'clock, I did nothing but sit at one of the computers and check people in. And I was so busy. I don't know about the other voting locations, but our voting location, we did not have one moment of rest. Like from the time we opened the door at 7 o'clock until the time we cut off the line at 7 o'clock. There was a line out the door into the parking lot around the building the whole time. There was not a single, I'm not joking, there was not a minute where there wasn't people in line to vote. So we worked the whole day. So yeah, I was doing the computers for like 5 or 6 hours straight, and it actually went pretty fast because we were so busy, and I was just banging it out, checking people in the whole time. And as lovely as my fellow poll workers were, I was checking in probably 2 to 3 people for every one person they were checking in, because they were really slow, like chicken typing on the computer, and I was, really fast because I have to type papers all the time, and I'm fast at typing. So my poll, the poll manager, the person in charge of everything, not my fellow poll workers, was really appreciative of that. He loved having me on the computers because it kept it moving a lot, and I actually had a lot of people, voters, who were like, thank you, like this line is moving basically because of you. You're keeping it moving, so good job. And I appreciated that. But so around like around 2 or 3 o'clock, I switched off with another one of the poll workers to take people to voting booths and do the whole thing with the little, I can't remember what they're called, but they were like keys that you would have to insert into the machine so that they could get a ballot to start according to their precinct and everything, and you'd show them, basically I just told them a big yellow button is going to come up at the bottom that says view ballot. Once you press that, you're on the way. It's pretty self-explanatory. The machines are really easy to vote on for everyone. Nobody really had any problems voting on them. And probably about half an hour to an hour after I started doing that, the poll manager came over to me and was like, I know you probably wanted a break from the computers, but since you switched off, the line has slowed significantly, so I'd like to get you back checking people in on the computers if that was possible. So I did computers from like 7 to 2 or 3, like I said, did about an hour of taking people to voting machines, and then was immediately back on the computers for the rest of the night. So from probably about 4 till 8, around 8 o'clock, because even though we cut the line at 7, it was so busy that it took us about an hour to finish off all the people in the line. So we were there working, checking people in and taking them to machines until about 8, around 8:30, something like that. And then this is where it really started to suck, because I know other people in the class were like, yeah, after 7 o'clock we left. Not for me. Ours was so busy. We had so many people that we had to do the extra hour and a half just to finish off the line. And then I don't really know what happened, but after we had cleaned up, put all the computers away and everything, and we had to wait like 2 hours, something like that, from 8 to like around 10:30, because our voting machines weren't working. We couldn't get the printout out of the voting machines. So we literally just sat around for like an hour, 2 hours more like, just waiting for a poll technician to show up and fix the machines so we could have the printout and give it to the county. And the county people were outside like checking in on us every half an hour, like, did you get it working yet? Like, we're waiting for the votes. And yeah, I couldn't leave. So by the time the technician got there and got the machine working, all the machines working, it was around 11 to 10:30. And he got them working right away. I don't know what was wrong with it, but as soon as he got there, he got them printed out. And once it was printed out, we still couldn't leave because we couldn't break down the machines because we couldn't get it printed out. So we had to wait until the list was printed out, and then we could start breaking down all the machines, which took about another half hour to an hour. So we broke down all the machines, put them up, put all the chairs and extra tables and stuff that we used in the various storage rooms of the school we were in. And we had a really awesome, I think he was I'm not sure if he was an election worker or if he was like a janitor or something at the school, but there was a really cool gentleman there who was helping us clean up and showing us, what rooms that the school wanted everything in. So we stacked up all the voting machines in one room, put all our chairs and stuff in another, and I think it was around 12 o'clock, I actually got to leave. And the poll manager actually let me leave before, and several of the other poll workers stayed even longer than me. So I don't know how these people who are like in their 50s and 60s are doing, what is it, from 5 a.m. till 12. It's like what is that, 17 hours, right? It's like, I'm bad at math. Let me think. 19 is 19 hours. Something crazy like that. Math. I'm bad at math. I'm probably wrong. I didn't think about this before I started the video, but it was insane. I was there for a really, really long time. Didn't have a lunch break. Didn't have any sort of break, really. The only time I got to stop working was when I went to the bathroom. So for that reason, it was incredibly miserable. I was exhausted by the end of it. And when I walked out, one of the poll workers was like, "Thank you so much for coming." And he was like, "I hope to see you next year," or something like that. And I was like, "I doubt it." I don't know. A lot of people assume it's fully volunteer, but you actually do get paid. Not a lot. I think I'll get a check sometime in the next couple of weeks for like $135 or something like that. So, yeah, not worth it monetarily or anything like that. It was pretty bad. But the one redeeming thing was all the nice thoughts I got from voters. Like, "Thank you so much for doing this. Like, you're keeping the line moving." Because I'm from Mount Pleasant and I was working right down the street, I saw a lot of people I knew and got to say hi to them and thank them for coming out. I even saw a lot of students that I know. Like, one of my best friends lives in that area. It was her precinct. She stopped by and voted. She's the best. And I got to say hi to her. Actually, several of my good friends, people I haven't seen in years who I went to like middle school with, came by and voted. A lot of adults that I know from the area. The guy I take my bike to whenever it's messed up came and voted there, and I got to say hi to him and was like, "I'm going to bring my bike by in a couple days." So, I mean, that was really the only redeeming part of it was, getting to see people I don't see a lot and them thanking me and me thanking them for coming out. But other than that, it was pretty terrible. It was a lot of work. I sat at a computer and just typed in people's names and checked them in the whole day. And that was about it. And I'm not surprised more people don't do it because it's pretty terrible. So that's I know a lot of people had a better experience, got to leave when they were supposed to be able to leave around 7, 8. Not for me. But yeah, that was my experience at the polls.